Michelle tore through the house, looking for that note, searching for hidden compartments, poring through every drawer and cabinet, but she simply couldn't find it. She worried that he may have accidentally taken it with him. No, she thought to herself, he was far too meticulous in planning this to have that happen. But wait, the scavenger hunt is supposed to take place outside. What if he hid it outside in one of the pieces of furniture? Right then, there was a pounding on the front door, and the sound of something scratching at it furiously. Surprised, Michelle ran to the front door, opened it, only to have Claude nearly knock her over running past her and bolting into the kitchen. "Claude, what are you doing?" Michelle yelled as she ran over to keep the bounding panther from wrecking the kitchen. "Just come out. We'll go running in the forest right now. Come on, Claude." But Claude wasn't listening. He stuck his head behind a cabinet and came out with a piece of paper in his mouth. Michelle gasped. She walked over, stuck her hand out, and Claude placed the paper into her hand. She smelled it. It smelled terrible, but Claude seemed to love it. She quickly opened it, realizing this was the letter the brother talked about, giving her the tasks to complete so she and Claude can fully explore this habitat. "If you're reading this, I assume your panther found it for you. I coated this letter with my own special oil. It is irresistible to a panther, even though it doesn't smell too good to a human. I did this to show you that you and Claude will have to work as a team to complete these tasks. Once they are complete, the bond you have with him will be stronger than ever. Now, here are the tasks you are to complete." As Michelle read through the letter, she realized that this was going to be a long vacation. Many of the tasks sounded like they'll take days to complete, but they sound thoroughly enjoyable. Michelle and Claude continued along the shallow tributary searching for the elusive pink lady slipper. It is a rare type of orchid. This plant cannot grow without help and only has 2 leaves. It is fed by a certain type of fungus that grows near the seed and nourishes it. The flower is in the shape of a slipper. As she searched for it, she met many different kinds of animals and saw birds with the most brilliant color of green and blue and orange and red. The flowers in many areas combined their scents to the point where Michelle just had to stop, sit, and just breathe in the sweet-smelling air. She often thought of when Jehovah spoke of a sweet-smelling odor, and she could imagine how refreshed he was to smell that. When she did that, Claude would usually go off exploring the environment and disappear into the forest. He'd usually come back with another animal in tow, almost as if he's introducing this animal to her. Other times he'd come back with some of the sweetest fruit she had ever tasted. Many times it was obvious he'd gorged himself on the fruit because he was unwilling to get up after she finished eating. She'd simply sleep in a tree during the night. Claude had a knack for picking some of the most comfortable spots for sleeping. It took her over a week to eventually find that flower, and she knew it would take several days to get back to the house. By the time she got back, she was so enchanted by the forest that she chose to rest and spend the night in the hammock in the front of the house, just watching the forest and enjoying the various smells that the wind carried her way. In the morning, Claude came over and put his head in her lap and looked up at her as if to say, "Thank you." The look made her tear up with joy. He then went into the forest and came back with some fruit. He led her to the tree where he found the fruit, and she gathered as much as she could. They walked back to the house, only to be greeted by a tall, tan man, dressed as one would dress in the 17th century England.